Well, I can't speak for him why he can't participate today, but it gives us also opportunities to discuss with our partners to also stay on the message. So we are gathered here in the G7 meeting together with our partners first to discuss very topical issues, and I think the two main issues on the table are the two big wars, one in Ukraine and the other one in the Middle East. We are discussing with our partners what kind of effect the wars have on them, and what could be done to really have an off-ramp from this war. We need to exit from the war, not escalate this further, because the consequences for everybody around the world are quite severe. At the same time, we can't forget about Ukraine. The attacks of Russia on Ukrainian civilians and civilian infrastructure are increasing still every day. And we just can't overlook this. And of course, the oil price hike is giving also Russia a possibility to fund this war again, which is really not good for the Ukrainians. So we need to increase our bilateral support, but also the pressure on Russia to stop this war and to really negotiate in good faith.
Could I ask you a question? What sort of plans is the EU putting together to try and secure the Strait of Hormuz? Could you give us a few details?
We have had discussions on the operations that we have in the region. So we have the Operation Aspides that is already in the region and has a UN Security Council resolution under it. But right now, it's operating south from the Muscat line. So the discussions were whether it is possible to increase the naval presence or to also increase the area. But at the moment, this operation is operating in the Red Sea. We also need to keep that navigation route open because Houthis risk is there, and this hasn't really. There has not been a Houthis attack yet, but nobody can tell whether they will be activated again. So we are contributing there. We have also the discussions on the coalitions of the willing for the Persian Gulf after the cessation of hostilities.
What's your message to stop the war in Lebanon? You have said a few days ago that Lebanon and its population are being dragged into a war that is not there with serious humanitarian consequences. No. What's your message today to stop all this?
Yes, this is exactly the situation that people in Lebanon are dragged into this war. There are over 1 million people displaced in Lebanon right now. We have been calling to Israel as well as Hezbollah to really stop the attacks. Hezbollah that has dragged the Lebanese people into this war. It's also important that Israel and Lebanon sit down to negotiate, to have really a settlement and peace so that these attacks will stop and the suffering of the people will stop. We see Lebanese government is making the efforts to disarm Hezbollah, and we have to help them to do that so that there would be stability. But of course, it's all interlinked with everything else that is happening in the Middle East.
What concrete leverage do you have over the U.S. and Israel? You seem to have limited influence. So what
action could you take to stop this war as the European Union?
I think in terms of the global outreach that we are doing, all the countries in the world are one way or the other way affected by this war. So it is in the interest of everybody that this war stops. And that's why we are also doing the outreach. We have partners, global partners here today to have a unified message that we need an exit, not an escalation in this war. And that means there has to be a diplomatic solution so that this region will come out of it stronger and actually more peaceful. And therefore, it can only be a diplomatic solution, sit down and negotiate to have a way out.
You say that there are more partners. You say that partners are here, but the U.S. Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, is not here today. We know he's coming tomorrow. But what sort of set message does that send when you have one of the key players who isn't here today?
Well, I can't speak for him why he can't participate today, but it gives us also opportunities to discuss with our partners to also stay on the message.
On Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky says that the US is pressuring them to cede territory in negotiations. Are you worried about this, and are you going to talk about it to Marco Rubio tomorrow?
Of course, we're worried about this. We have seen this for a year already, that Russia is really trying to achieve, and get those territories that they haven't been able to conquer militarily in 12 years, to get those territories, around the negotiation table. This is clearly a wrong approach. It is, of course, the Russian playbook of negotiations that they are demanding something that has never been theirs, and that's why we are also flagging that this is the trap that we should not walk into. Actually, in order to have a solution for this war, also, getting out of it, out of this circle that we have this war starting over and over again, we need to have clear concessions on the Russian side. So also, if we together, also with the Americans, put the pressure on Russia, then we could have an end to this war and also a sustainable peace for longer term.
Do you have plans to meet your Saudi counterpart, and is there some sort of European mediation to put an end to the escalation in the Middle East?
Yes, I have a bilateral meeting also with Prince Faisal, and we are in contact with our regional partners all the time, how we can contribute to these talks. Really, I mean, with Pakistan, with Egypt, who have been a discussion and mediating this. It is not easy because the two parties are quite far away from each other, but it's our firm understanding that in the end there has to be a diplomatic solution, that this region would come out more strongly and being a peaceful region for a longer time, to eliminate the risks, the threats that are there posed by Iran to Israel, for example, the threats that they have presented, so that we have, and we can exit this cycle of wars.
High Representative, how do you plan to get the US to put more pressure on Russia? Will you be talking about Russia's support to Iran?
Exactly. We are raising this issue that we see that Russia is helping Iran with intelligence to target Americans, to kill Americans, and Russia is also supporting Iran now with the drones so that they can attack neighboring countries and also U.S. military bases. So these wars are very much interlinked. So if America wants the war in the Middle East to stop, Iran to stop attacking them, they should also put the pressure on Russia so that they are not able to help them in this.
Mr. Secretary, are you going to ask G7 to help with the Strait of Hormuz?
Well, it's in their interest to help. The other countries get far more of their fuel from there than we do.
So what kind of help are you going to ask? Wine sweepers, naval help?
Well, those specifics I'll leave it to the Department of War as to exactly what, but it's in their interest. It's in their national interest.
Do you think President Trump criticizing NATO this morning, that sentiment?
I think he just made an observation, and the observation is that the United States is constantly being asked to help in a war, and we have more than any other country in the world on a war that's happening in another continent, in Ukraine. But when the U.S. had a need, he didn't get proper positive responses. So right now he's just making the observation that, I think there was a couple of the leaders in Europe who said that this was not Europe's war. Well, Ukraine is not America's war, and yet we've contributed more to that fight than any other country in the world. So it'll be something to examine. The president will have to take into account down the road.
What's your assessment of Russia's support for Iran now?
Their assessment of it?
Yeah, what's your assessment?
I think Russia's primarily concentrating on the war they have going on right now. Beyond that, I don't have anything to add right now.
So are you at all concerned about the reception that you might get when we arrive at
the reception I might get?
Yeah, the reception.
By who?
Well, by all your fellow foreign ministers.
I'm not concerned about it. I'm here on behalf of the United States of America. I look forward to meeting with them. I don't know what reception I would get from them. I think they should be happy that I'm going.
Well,
if not, we don't have to go.
They might be happy, but they're not happy with what's going on.
Well, again, I'm not there to make them happy. I get along with all of them on a personal level. We work with those governments very carefully, but the people I'm interested in making happy are the people of the United States. That's who I work for. I don't work for France or Germany or Japan. These are all good people. We're going to have great meetings. But I work for them. I work for the people of the United States.
Mr. Secretary?
What?
Is the deadline for Iran to engage still tomorrow? Or
the president addressed that at the cabinet meeting. So
it's shifted.
Can the strait be reopened without the use of troops on the ground, boots on the ground by part of the
That's a tactical military question. I'm not going to, speculate on what it would take. It can be open tomorrow if Iran stops threatening global shipping, which is an outrage and a violation of international law for all these countries that care about international law. They should be doing something about it. Well, it's not help for us. Like I said, very little of our energy comes through the Straits of Hormuz. It's the world that has a great interest in that. And so they should step up and deal with it.
Mr. Secretary, who are you negotiating with on the Iran side?
Well, again, we're not going to get into those details. There are intermediary countries that are passing messages, and progress has been made. Some concrete progress has been made, as you've seen, and has been documented already. There's a growing amount of energy that's been flowing through the straits. Not as much as should be flowing, but some of it is ticked up. So, again, there's been some progress in regards to the exchange of messages, but that's an ongoing and fluid process and not one we're going to negotiate or talk about in the media.
Do you think this progress is enough for both sides to perhaps soon meet in person?
We'll see. We'll see how it turns out. I don't want to prejudge it. I don't want to predict. As I said, we'll see what happens. Okay?